I'd like to warmly welcome everyone to our first Lightup Impact Founder Showcase. So let me first go through our agenda here a little bit, what we have in store for you. So first, I will introduce our moderators. We have two moderators here, our two member organizations, and then they will introduce our guest panelists. We have three of those here today. And then we have our main B for today, which is a pitching session of our three organizations, Activate Action, Goblis Foundation, and Chadala. Then we will have a short break and networking session. And then we have a short presentation of Lightup Impact and what it's all about. So what is Lightup Impact? Lightup Impact is a community of early-stage social organizations working in gender, development, and health in East Africa. And currently we have about 50 members from Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania. And our event objective for today is to showcase the work of Lightup Impact member organizations in gender, health, and development in Eastern Africa, and foster networking among and beyond the Lightup Impact network. So our first moderator for today is Marlene Kawira, and Marlene is a social entrepreneur in the mental health space who has worked in the humanitarian and development world. She is a monitoring and evaluation practitioner, photographer, videographer, and founder of Africala Arts, a company that helps individuals, businesses, and organizations in communications, social, PR, marketing, and content creation. And our second moderator for today is Dr. Judy Gatugi, and she is a pharmacist by profession who works with Pharma, a digital health company based in Nairobi, Kenya. She's also the founder of Verbinti, a mentorship group for women in healthcare, dealing with career planning, career development, and empowering women in C-suite roles in healthcare. So now I would like to give the floor to our two moderators, and they can go on and introduce our guest panelists. Go ahead, Judy and Marlene.
Thank you very much, Eva. Welcome, everybody. So today I will be the one going first, introducing our guest panelists. We have very, very great people around and here with us today, starting with Katerina Poor, who is a professional public speaking coach who works with very many different clients ranging from tech startups, social entrepreneurs, ambassador, and even Shakespearean actors. So with her as your coach, you know, your voice is going to be your greatest asset. You can always feel free to talk to her and communicate and even network with her. So that is our first guest panelist. Our second guest panelist is Megan Mukurya, who is the founder of Zana Africa. I know a lot of you work in the menstrual health space, so Zana Africa creates a holistic and intersectional impact in menstrual health management through policy, production innovation, sales of consumer goods, school-based delivery of health and rights education, and social and behavioral change communication that benefits almost over 40,000 monthly. So people in the menstrual health space, this is your guy. This is the person you need to look out to and follow. Last but not least, we have Hilke Roskap, who is a senior manager in Making More Health community activation team at Boehringer Ingelheim, so which is a leading German pharmaceutical company. So most of you who are not familiar with the Making More Health initiative, it is a global initiative that supports community in sub-Saharan Africa and India and help them attain a higher quality of life in different dimensions such as health, economic development, infrastructure, education, and culture. So always feel free to look our guest panelists up and they will be here with us today. So let me welcome my other moderator, Judy, to take you through our first founder who is going to give us and let us know more about their organization. So Judy, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Eva and Marlene, for those wonderful introductions. During this session of pitching, I would advise the audience to please turn off your video and your microphone so that we can focus our attention on the pitching founders. And each person is going to have 5 minutes to pitch through. I will give you a 1 minute notice at the 4-minute mark. So let's get pitching. So our first founder is Rogers. He is the founder of Activate Action, a youth-led community-based organization working with young people living with HIV and disabilities. And just to bring something to your attention, did you know that if you forgo your Starbucks coffee for just 1 day, I mean, my favorite is the caramel macchiato, which is $4. You could actually invest that $4 in Activate Action and actually support one youth just by giving up a cup of coffee. So anyway, back to Rogers, take the floor. Thank you.
I think Rogers is rejoining the meeting.
Sorry, I lost power when I'm about to start my presentation. I don't know whether I can continue.
Yes, Rogers, please continue. Your time starts now.
Okay, thanks so much. My name is Roger Somolo. I'm the founder of Activate Action. Maybe you can scroll with me. Activate Action is a youth-led organization. We work with young people living with HIV and disability. The organization started back in 2017 as a youth-friendly facility, and we later registered as a youth-led community-based organization in 2020. Scroll. Our mission is to build an inclusive social environment for young people living with HIV and disability in Homa Bay, Kenya. Scroll. Our vision is empowered, stigma-free for society, and we want to empower young people living with HIV and disability to avoid being stigmatized and also to avoid self-stigma. Since inception, Activate Action has already reached over 12,000 young people, that's age 15 to 24, both male and female. We've also run a 3-month program. This was supported by Youth Against AIDS. Currently, they are calling themselves OHO Foundation. And the program that we did was on stigma associated with HIV testing and counseling among young people, with the aim of increasing uptake of HIV services among young people. We also run a youth-friendly facility in Makongeni Hospital, and we partner with the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Education. In this facility, young people are able to access free information and services on sexual and reproductive health. Scroll. The reasons why Activate Action started, having worked with the Ministry of Health and Adolescence Program, I noticed that young people living with HIV and disability were stigmatized, and they were unable to access information and services on SRHR. So stigma, as I said, I saw that stigma remains to be a significant barrier to access to SRHR services and information among young people. The fear of stigma and discrimination still make young people less likely to adapt to preventive strategies such as condom use, seeking HIV testing and counseling, going for STI screening, adhering to ARVs, disclosing their HIV status to their sexual partners. And in Homa Bay, young people living with HIV and disability still find it difficult to accept their status. And this also bring in issues to do with mental health challenges due to maybe adherence, due to fear of community, due to stigma and discrimination, and issues to do with survivor syndrome. You can scroll. The solution to this, these are now why Activate Action came in. We Activate Action, we are championing for advocacy-based projects that seek to enhance the SRHR of young people living with HIV and disability. We champion for an inspiring, innovative, and far-reaching programs that put young people in the driving seat, that is meaningful youth engagement and participation. You can go down. Our team consists of 17 young people, and these are young professionals, university students, young people living with HIV and disability, and also young people from the gender minority. So we are inclusive, and we are trying to bring all young people on board.
1 minute to go, Rogers. 1 minute.
Maybe you can go down again. These are our strategies. We focus on training, mentorship, adolescent and sexual reproductive health, partnership, advocacy, and economical strengthening. You go down. These are our thematic areas. Sorry, if you allow me, because I was having issues with power. I don't think I've consumed the 5 minutes, so just allow me, just scroll down a little bit.
You've actually used your 5 minutes because I counted from when you came back in. So
okay, these are now our impact. Those are our impact. Maybe if someone will have a question, I'll be able to clarify. Go down. This is our call to action. We are calling for capacity building, especially on resource mobilization. We are calling on for partnership and also profiling our initiative into global platform. Scroll down. Those are our contacts. And lastly, I'll finish by saying, whenever AIDS has won, stigma, shame, distrust, discrimination, and apathy was on its side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rogers, for that very inspiring pitch. That was amazing. I think I'll hand over to Marlene to take the next part of this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rogers. That is so much great work you're doing in your community. Very commendable with the young people. Lots of impact. I've heard about your stories severally. So I would like to welcome our panelists. Katerina, we can have Megan and Hilke give us some of our comments. Valeria, I think you have something to say, but thank you, Rogers. So welcome, Katrina. Hilke.
Hello. Rogers, you
Hello.
have an absolutely magnificent action plan here. And one of the best things that it has going for it is the evidence that your action is needed is very emotionally visceral. It's very clear. So what I would encourage you to do in your presentation, so that there isn't stress about time, and so more importantly, what you're going to be providing is solution to these problems, an actionable plan is more the focus of what we're hearing. I would encourage you to give less attention, less time, less slides to the background of the issue. See if you can condense that into a very powerful but brief statement. And then when you're saying the actionable plan that you have prepared, really let your voice tell us a story. You have the wonderful benefit of a beautiful timbre of voice. You have a great instrument. To remind all of you, in case you didn't read, I'm an opera singer. I'm a voice teacher as well as a public speaking coach. So I'll be giving feedback about vocal health as well as the words that you present. Use your storytelling to pull our attention to the big difference between the problem and the solution that you think is going to work. So every time you're presenting a new fact about your plan, make sure you pause a little bit. Give the listener, give the audience just a moment to go, oh, wait, this is new information. I should listen. Or this is something really important that he has come up with. I should remember this. One of the most common problems that I see, especially in a 5-minute pitch, where it's quite a bit of time, but it's not enough time, is when you're trying to fit so much information in, it all ends up going in one long line with absolutely no pauses like this. And then the audience can't really comprehend it. So please use the instrument of your voice to give us slightly less information, but give it more importance. It's the same thing that we all do automatically. If we are telling a fairy story to a child, we automatically go, once upon a time, there was an evil power. We automatically do it. We need to bring that same intuition to the importance of our organizations. We have a brilliant idea to do this. That's going to help us hear you. That's what I recommend above all other things that we could work on to begin with, and to bring power to what is obviously a brilliant idea.
Thank you very much, Katrina. Those were some very powerful insights. Let me welcome Megan if she had any comments on her end so that we can save the last for Hilke.
Sure, great. Habari zenu to all of the Swahili speakers. It's great to be here with you all today. I'll build on what Katrina said. I won't repeat that. That was some excellent feedback and very good for all people who want to pitch, which I do a lot. I'm going to emphasize on kind of the call to action. I'd like to understand what you all uniquely do in terms of advocacy or in terms of partnerships or in terms of things like that. I think a couple photos might be really helpful. There was a lot of content on your slides around the services you provide and the resources. You had some really excellent photos, maybe a photo of those things so you can show and not have to have the viewer also be reading and listening to you. That can help just strengthen the connection between you and the listener and make it powerful. I'd love to understand, like, what do you want to do in 1 year and say 2 or 3 years? And then how can we help you with that call to action, organizational capacity building? What does that mean? You want to grow your team from, 17 who are largely volunteers to, be able to pay them as full-time people. You want to build a permanent facility because you're just currently in a borrowed facility. I don't know what that is, but if you're able to put some concrete examples in that, I think that would really help. It doesn't need to be just money related. You can say, talk to me afterwards if you're interested in making these things possible, but people who want to support you want to make that thing possible. And I think that destigmatizing is so important. So, profile globally, like, what does that mean? Hey, we'd like sponsorship for the next Women Deliver conference, or, things like that, so that we can elevate our voice, or those are types of examples that somebody can really latch onto and run with. You might also just want to put your one contact information, like one contact detail there instead of a list of them. With 5 minutes, it's really hard to give each slide the visual time that it needs for somebody to write down details and things like that. And so I think that would really help strengthen things. And then I just had a question that I don't need an answer to right now, but you had mentioned gender minorities. That can be really significant, especially in Kenya, if you are talking about the LGBTQI community. And that has a whole nother level of details. If it's just females who are a minority compared to males, for example, then that also has a different connotation. So I'd like some clarification on that. But I thought you did a fantastic job on especially showing the connection between your work at the Ministry of Health and where you saw the stigma, and the problem, my last recommendation might be that you tell a story of impact. So this person who you have consent to talk about and have a photo of course, beforehand, this was the problem. And now, after coming through our 3-month outreach or coming to our center a couple of times, now this is his or her or their reality. That can be incredibly powerful and differentiate you from others. So I'll pause there. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Megan. I've also learned a number of things. I hope all of you have picked up something from Megan's comments. I will welcome Hilke to give us her comments before we proceed to the next speech. Hilke, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. And first of all, thank you very much, Rogers, for the presentation. Actually, there's no much left to say for me, which is the good part when you're at the end of the list. However, I have 1 or 2 more comments on that. I really liked the presentation when you started out with a clear mission, because I think that is so important. Because if you talk about your baby, you easily get lost in details. Because it is your initiative and you can talk about it probably for hours. And it's so important to really, focus on what the mission is. Because all of us, including myself, I have not heard about this before. So I need to get it in 5 minutes. And so for me, that was really, really important. And you did a great job on that. What I would change is, because you talked about your achievements, and your achievements get a little bit lost if we don't know what is the problem that you are trying to solve. Because it was only 3 slides afterwards that you started to talk about the problems. And I think that's a pity for the achievements, because when I look at the achievements, I said, is that good? Is that bad? I was not even quite sure what is it that they are trying to solve. So I would change that. And you have the problem slide. So I would definitely change the order. And also I know it's so difficult in 5 minutes. You started out with slides with really few words, and I would continue that. The slides got bigger and bigger after a while. And if I need to change from listening to you to reading, I think that's where the audience is struggling, especially because we are in this remote settings and it's kind of hard to focus anyway. Also, with regards to the call to action, I know it's a very technical term. I would always phrase it differently, because call to action is what it is. But if you talk to somebody, I would always phrase it, what is it that I want from you? Because you are talking to somebody. So I would really phrase it I would address people, because I mean, that's what you're trying to do. You would address people. And I would also try to keep the call to action very focused, so that I also, as a listener, can remember, I know exactly Rogers wanted this one thing from me, and that sticks in my head. Apart from that, so I really liked it. I think one thing, I think it depends a little bit on the audience you are talking to. You're also using a lot of abbreviations, and I think it depends on the people who you are talking to. If they are not that familiar with the topic itself, again, it depends on who you are talking to and who your audience is. I would try to avoid that, or at least give a first explanation on what specific abbreviations mean. But apart from that, I think we're all giving kind of recommendations here. Really good job. And I also like the visuals and the colors of your presentation. I know that is not the most important thing, but again, we are in a very remote session now. So I think that is also really, really important. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hilke. Those were quite some very memorable insights that you've shared. Allow me to give the Pedro, maybe you can share something before we give Rogers a chance to get back and give us maybe some of the things that he has to say to the panelists and also to the team.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. First of all, Rogers, thank you for your work. Second, Rogers, thank you for the presentation. I really learned a lot right now, not only about the theme itself, but about your work, your organization, what you're doing. Just one thing I would build up on all the feedback that has been given is that indeed there was a lot to see and to read. And Whenever I see something, I want to look at every detail of it. If I see a lot of text, I want to read everything. If I see a photo, I want to look at all the colors, all the details, all the emotions people are feeling in those photos. So I would say that when you have such a short amount of time, which I think 5 minutes is a very short amount of time, when it comes to the slides, you could be a little bit more, how can I say that? A little bit more effective for yourself. What do I mean exactly? What I would do, my strategy on slides on very short presentations like this is that I try to keep them as simple as possible. Sometimes the slide will be one image. Sometimes the slide will be one word even. Why? Because I'm making the slide for me. I want people to listen to my voice, and I don't want them to get so much distracted with the visual input they have. So I have a word, and then I remember, oh, I have to talk about this topic. Then I have something else. Oh, I have to talk about this other topic. Oh, we're going to talk about the results you have in your work. Then it's very nice to have some numbers there so we can really visualize the quantity, the quantities we're talking about. That's it. So yeah, try to make the slide work not only for the audience, but really for you. The slides are for you. Sorry, to help you. That was it. Thank you.
Can I go on?
Yes, please go on, Rogers.
Thank you so much for very insightful feedback from the panelists. Actually, it was a learning process for me. And all the feedback that you gave, I will really consider them when I'm preparing another pitch. It's really important that I'm getting this insightful information from people who are skilled as you, and appreciate. Maybe just one comment that I'll make in terms of what we need in terms of call to action. Basically, we are a young organization, and we are still having challenges when it comes to skill development. And that's why when I talk of capacity building, we are open to be it in terms of mentorship, in terms of partnership, in terms of skills development, and even in terms of not only monetary, but we have a vision that we are willing to share with any person who will wish to know our vision as an organization and how we want to sustain the organization. Anyway, thanks so much for the feedback.
Thank you, Rogers, for that. I think I'd like to highlight a comment in the chat by Alexander. Meanwhile, as Eva is putting on the next slide for the next founder, he says that the slides should really focus, for the presenter as a guide as you're pitching. So it's not really something that you're going to share with somebody. It's more for you, the presenter. And I think that really sort of helps me understand that I need to minimize as much as possible, the same way that Pedro has said, just be minimal. Yeah, so thank you so much, Rogers. It was very nice getting to know about Activate Action, and we look forward to working with you in the future, seeing you become a success and the success that we know that you can be. Okay, so we're moving on to the next founder, and it's Grace Edwards Akumu, and she's the founder of Chadala, which is a registered LBQ women-led organization that seeks to help improve the health and livelihoods of 10 young LBQ women and 10 teenage mothers aged 18 to 25 years in the rural area of Nyanza, Kenya, through the facilitation of arts, social activities, advocacy, and networking. And actually, mental health reminds me of a quote that was said by Linda Poindexter. One small crack doesn't mean that you're broken. It just means that you are put to the test and you didn't fall apart. So back to you, Grace. Go ahead and pitch. Your time starts now.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. How you doing? My name is Grace Edwards Akumu, the founder and project officer of Winam Chanua Data CBO. Kindly allow me to turn off my camera because I know my internet will be problematic. so I'll operate without my camera for now. So we start. Winam Chanua Dada CBO, it's popularly known as Chadala. Next slide, please. Our mission is we seek to help improve the health and livelihood of young LBQ women and teenage mothers in the rural areas of Nyanza, Kenya, that is Kisumu and Siaya County. And this we will do through facilitation of arts, social activities, advocacy, and networking. Next slide, kindly. Our focus areas are mental health, sexual reproductive health rights, sexual and gender-based violence, drug and substance abuse and addiction. There's arts, and there's also social economic empowerment. Next slide. Our vision is to have a more empowered society where LBQ women's voices will count too. Next. So our background information, Winam Chanua Dada CBO is a registered LBQ women-led organization that was founded in the year 2020. We focus on young LBQ women and teenage mothers in the rural areas of Nyanza, Kenya, using a human rights-based approach to improve their health and livelihood through facilitation of arts, social activities, advocacy, and networking to advance their sexual, legal, and cultural rights to build a healthy and empowered society where young LBQ women are also able to make their own decisions without fear of stigma, discrimination, or prejudice. That provide the community members a safe platform to discuss and prioritize issues that impact on them directly, more so at the grassroots levels. What we do is that we create awareness and speak about sexual and reproductive and share stories, raise voices and concerns to influence positive change in the society when it comes to LBQ women's sexual, reproductive health and rights. We also advocate for comprehensive sexual and reproductive health through changing social and cultural norms and values that limit LBQ women from accessing sexual reproductive health services and information, which is an infringement to our fundamental human rights. We also empower young LBQ women in rural areas to pursue their goals through access to an education in a quest to end gender-based violence, drug abuse, and mental health conditions. We improve the livelihood of young LBQ women, especially at the grassroots level, through programs that empower them socially, economically, and legally. We also advocate for comprehensive sexual and reproductive health through changing social and cultural norms and values that limit LBQ women from accessing sexual reproductive health services and information. We firmly stand and fully advocate for access to better healthcare, gender equality, quality education, and security for LBQ women. We strengthen these factors that are able to promote the full and equal participation of young LBQ women in the power structures as well as decision making. We also encourage networking and collaboration with all public and other non-governmental organizations to advance the cause of young LBQ women. We also encourage democratic practices in the society at all levels in the relation to the plight of young LBQ women. Next slide, please. So our aim as Chadala is to raise more awareness on the issues affecting young LBQ women, that is mental health conditions, which is really on the rise, the sexual gender-based violence. We just had an activity last month in regards to intimate partner violence. We have sexual reproductive health rights. For us as a gender minority community, we face a lot of stigma and discrimination when it comes to accessing healthcare provisions. There's also the economic empowerment aspect. The security. Right now, Kenya is approaching the election period, and already as it is on the ground, there's already security threat. There's so many of us who are being targeted, and it's not right. There's inequality, of course, be it leadership spaces, decision-making spaces. Then there's the rise in drug and substance abuse. Next slide. So our objective is to have more awareness on the issues affecting young LBQ women by speaking out, sharing stories, and raising voices to influence a positive change in the society. We advocate for comprehensive sexual and reproductive health and changing social and cultural norms and values that limit young LBQ women from accessing sexual reproductive health services and information. We empower young LBQ women in rural Nyanza and beyond to pursue their goals through access to an education with the need to eradicate drug addiction and substance abuse, which is a leading contributing factor to mental health conditions amongst the young LBQ women. We also stand firmly and fully advocate for access to better health services for injective drug users. We also improve the status of young LBQ women, especially at the grassroots level, through programs that empower them economically. We also
30
encourage
seconds
the
to go.
democratic processes. Okay, last slide. So as I said, our focus group is the young LGBTQ women in the rural areas. And right now we are looking out to donors who can support us put up a resource center. The resource center will act as a safe space for our beneficiaries. This is the young LGBTQ women and also the teenage mothers who actually equally go through the same stigma and discrimination. Here we will be taught a lot of skills. We have character development skills. We'll have the economic empowerment skills. And now we have a new approach whereby we are going to use dance as a way of advocating and communicating our messages, and also a way of mental health and wellness. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace, for that awesome presentation, and also, getting us to know more about Chadala.
Sorry, did I exhaust my time?
Yes.
Okay,
actually,
thank you.
added a few seconds on top.
So I had to package everything in the last slide. Thank you.
Yeah, so for this, after this, we're heading to our panelists, and this time we'll start with Hilka, so that she can give us her first insights, and then we move on to Katerina and then Megan. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Grace, thank you very much for the presentation. And I need to say, it's such an important topic, and I really like the work because I also informed myself, a little bit about your initiative. So it's so important. I need to say I was a bit overwhelmed by your presentation because you were trying to put so much information into this, and this is all really, really relevant and yeah, really relevant information about the initiative, about the problem. And it goes a little bit the same what I said in my previous comment when I gave comments on my feedback to Rogers. I know that these initiatives are really close to your heart. I mean, that is why you are doing this initiative. And us, we are sitting on the other side and we are hearing about it for the first time. And it's a bit difficult to really get the essence, because there were so many details of what you are doing, of what you are trying to achieve. And I think it's very, very relevant. But I think a lot of these things would be for a follow-up conversations, because what you are trying to get across is really, what is the problem? What is it that we are doing? Why are we doing this? And why do we need your help? And I think that got lost. And I think you even said it a minute ago, that you said, oh, time is over and my most important slide is still to come. So, and that is the tricky part. If you get cut off after 5 minutes, you won't get it across. So my recommendation would be, first of all, I would really streamline the slides, because there were actually 2 slides that were really, really content rich, which is, I think, for a pitch presentation way too much. That was definitely the background information, which was a lot. And then you had, again, the objectives. And I wasn't quite clear. I really liked the one slide which says our aim is, and there was 1 sentence, and they say, I can go with that one. And then you had another one where it says our objectives, and then you had this list of detailed objectives. So I think I would focus, and I would get rid of a couple of slides so that you really get your message across, because I now find it very sad to not know what is actually on your last slide, and probably also your call to action. What is it that you need from the ones who are listening to this pitch presentation? Okay, that was, and let me see, that was my feedback to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hilka, for that insight. I think this has been mentioned several times. We try to, shrink down our slides to just focus straight to the message that we're trying to achieve. So background information usually will come, being introduced as you're being introduced as a founder. So you can leave out that part and go straight to your impact and what exactly it is that you're doing. But thank you, Hilka, for that information. I think we go to Megan next.
Great. Thanks so much. Yeah, Grace, what you do is very near and dear to my heart, and I'd love to help you make your story pop even more. I would love, because I've lived here for 20 years in Kenya, I understand a bit the really difficult problems that the LGBTQ community faces, and the LBQ community specifically. I don't know that everybody who might be listening does. So I think it's really important to understand the violation of human rights that's been written into law. You know, the number of people that this is affecting, and then the number of people that this is affecting in your 2 counties, and why you're perhaps starting with 10 each. 20 might be a huge number. It might be a very small number. I don't really have an ability to contextualize how you're addressing this in the context of the problem. So I'd like to see a little bit more punch on that, because the second you have people grasping that problem and being outraged by the experiences that the people are facing that you're supporting, you've hooked people already. And there's a very easy hook there. Secondly, there's a way in which I would like to see a bit of condensing. I think Hilke addressed some of this to a certain extent, but there was a lot of we also, and we also, and we also. The framing that you have, I think, is really helpful for things like grant writing. But I think you've heard the the feedback that we gave to Roger. So similar to that, fewer things, punchier things, some photos of the work. You had 1 or 2 that were really excellent, and some really strong other visuals. I'd like to know, like, what are the 3 things that you're doing that are most differentiated, and also how. I'm in the sector of social and behavior change communication. These changing social norms is very difficult to do. And if you are able to achieve those results, just giving an example of those would be very powerful for people to be able to say, wow, okay, Grace understands this problem and is addressing it in a really smart way that's creating tremendous impact. So that impact, I think, maybe perhaps due to time, got a bit lost. But you never really want to be reading slides, because the first slide, I was starting to skim it because I didn't think you were going to get to all of it. So being able to not have full sentences. I was given a framing of, I think nothing should be less than 30 point font, maybe even bigger. So it forces you to have less on it. And then you can speak, and then people will be not competing the reading versus you. And a pitch presentation is so different than other presentations, and you guys are all doing a great job. But those are just a couple of feedbacks that I think would help strengthen it.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Megan, for that. Yeah, so the highlight of Megan's sort of talk is make your story pop. You know, let that impact, you know, stay in our minds, so that at the end of it, we're not really asking ourselves questions. I think I saw in the chat somebody was asking, why did you settle on the number 10? So maybe in another session, you can explain to us that. So we move on to Katarina.
Hi, I love getting to go last. So what they have wonderfully pointed out is that the decision of what content gets into a pitch presentation is so incredibly important. You need, just like if you're living in a tiny apartment, everything that ends up in your final presentation needs to serve more than one purpose. So you do not have the time to give a long background and then a long plan and then a long. So as they pointed out, if you're able to give a really emotionally potent example that will serve the purpose of your background, your plan, your impact. Now, what I'd like to point out on the performance side of things, with Rogers, we talked about the fact that when we're telling a fairy tale to a child, we automatically bring emotional importance at certain points throughout the story. The purpose of a pitch is not to provide information. The purpose of a pitch is to create an emotional reaction in our audience, which makes them want to hear more. So one of the things that most struck me as you were talking was I felt that you felt rushed. And of course, that's because you had so many important things that you wanted to talk about. If you feel rushed, I feel nervous. Because we already heard, if somebody is worried you're not going to get to the end of the slide and they start reading your slide because of that, they're not listening to you, they are feeling anxious.
Yeah.
So everything they said about very carefully choosing what you say and making sure that every point you are making is serving a double purpose, a triple purpose. This one coffee table is your desk, it's your breakfast table, it's your changing table for a baby. Everything is serving triple purpose. It's going to give you the mental space, give us, the listener, emotional relaxation. You'll notice right now as I'm talking to you, I'm pausing quite frequently. I'm breathing every time I start a new idea. Does this make you feel relaxed? Does this make you feel like we have all the time in the world? Whatever you choose to present, as you're practicing it, make sure that you're able to stop, make eye contact with the camera or somebody that's in the room with you, and then deliver that beautiful point. It's one sentence is more important than 10 if you can feel powerful doing it. So everything that the others said is the key to this comfort. If you have taken the difficult decisions to cut out information that feels so important, how could you leave it out? If you cut that out and just leave one sentence that's really good, then you're going to feel better. And we'll be able to hear you.
Sure. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you. That's so helpful. Thank you.
You're doing such important work across the entire world. This is such important work, and it is so emotional. So, yeah.
Thank you, Katrina.
Thank you very much, Katrina. I think I will give the floor to Pedro before we get back to Grace to give us some few comments before we go to the next founder. Pedro?
Yes, hello, it's me again. I had no idea I was going to provide a lot of feedback, but here I am. Grace, once again, thank you for your work. Thank you for your presentation, and let us know a little bit more of your organization and what you're doing with your project. So coincidentally, I have written my final thesis for university on LGBTQ persecution and refuge. So I quite researched a lot on the theme. And I think what would be really interesting would be, because here on this page, we have a global audience, right? So it would be really interesting to maybe think about this global perspective. How about in the beginning, for example, we try to give this global perspective. What were the advances we made, the progress we made so far? What are still the global struggles that we still see around? And then we can go on local, for example. I'm not Kenyan, I'm not from Kenya. And maybe it would be interesting also, for example, to put the map of Kenya, put the map of the local community you work with. So we kind of build this connection. We kind of understand where you are, you know, so we kind of can better visualize what's happening. And as it was said already, it would be really interesting to bring this issue of like, what is the law saying there still? And so, yeah, that would be really interesting, because then we can also understand, for example, because someone who's coming from Uruguay or Germany would maybe not understand the impact of your work, would not really understand of how disruptive actually your organization is. And I think if you just put everyone on the same page and really understand of how not only important, but how I don't even have the word to describe it, of how important, groundbreaking your work is, it would really grab our attention a little bit more. And as I maybe was said, but I would just build on, is that there were a lot of things that were said, and what I would tell you is to mention maybe a few things that you judge are more important, or maybe they're more relevant, or maybe they're just more appealing to the audience, and then focus on one. Then you go deep on it, and then we can get a real understanding of your work, of what you do. And then from that, we can also see some results, for example. That was it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pedro. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Chris, in your great work, I don't know if you have any summary feedback to give to the panelists and to Pedro and the rest of us.
First of all, is to appreciate. Thank you so much for the comments. Everything is beautiful. I've learned a lot. I actually have used it because the presentation. I normally don't use our profile to fit in. I already have it, but just have to take you through everything. Some aspects we are dealing with 1010. Those are the current beneficiaries who we have, who are currently who are actually to be mentioned in our focus areas. We have beneficiaries who happen to be victims of gender-based violence, who suffer from mental health illness, who are actually drug and substance users. And then we have teenage mothers. Like in December, we had a food program, the Chadala Christmas Food Basket. Thank you so much, Lightup Impact, you supported that this time. We were able to distribute 10 Christmas baskets to our beneficiaries. Would not be able to manage, considering what events offer has an office or a space as and operate from the phone. Okay, spreading this looking at going to yeah, it's really good.
No,
Okay,
unfortunately, can.
I think you had an issue with your connection.
Just maybe get out of the video. Unmute your video.
Hey, Grace, maybe you can try to shut off your video so that you can maybe have more stable connection. You have muted your mic, Grace.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you a bit better now.
Okay, sorry, I'm in the rural area, so it's back here. So I was mentioning that somebody that also 10 beneficiaries. So that's our starting point. We are working with the numbers that we are able to handle. These are the younger women and also the teenage mothers who are currently going through what there. And through also looking at socioeconomic empowerment focus for each of our beneficiaries. And you know, I am a Muslim woman, so you can imagine what I go through daily. I face discrimination daily. I face stigma. I mentioned Kenya is approaching elections, and for us, it's bad because just the other day we were being trolled on social media. There are people who are actually being evicted, and it's really, really bad. We face discrimination in the sense that we cannot even get jobs. We cannot even get, you know, a source of livelihood just because we identify differently. So as Chadala Baby Organization, I must say we are proud of where we are. We're just a year old and we pride in partnership both globally, locally and globally. We have Global Mental Health Action, that's for mental health. We also have Coalition Action for Preventive Mental Health. In the region, we have Kisumu CSOs for SRHR Alliance. There are quite a number. Development Agenda for Women and Girls in Africa. There are quite a number, not forgetting Lightup. There's Mary Stops International. So we are really growing and advancing our cause. Yeah. So I'll share more details as we go on.
Grace, can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you.
Because it sounds like you're back to pitching again. The idea was just to give feedback about what you've heard from the panelists. So I'm sorry to cut you off, but you could post some of what you're saying onto the chat so that we can give the chance to our next speaker to continue, please, if you don't mind.
Thank you so much, Judy. Thank you so much, the panelists, for the feedback. I'll work on everything that you've mentioned, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody. Thank you so much.
All right, great. Eva, could you please share the next founder slides?
I believe Isaac is sharing his own presentation.
Oh, great.
Go ahead, Isaac.
Okay, so Isaac Waifaka, he's the founder of Goblis Foundation, which transforms marginalized and vulnerable young people into social entrepreneurs using a cost-effective and efficient process through community volunteers. And actually, did you know Isaac was the national coordinator for Masterpiece? I think he's totally suited to this social entrepreneurship that he's actually doing. Isaac, welcome to the floor. Tell us more about your organization.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. It's to have this opportunity. It's very interesting. Yeah, see, it's very interesting that you had done a background search. Yes, I founded Masterpiece back in why Goblis Foundation? In Kenya, we are talking of 800,000 young people being churned out of institutions of higher learning. And out of 800,000 per year, only 50,000 young people secure a job. And for them here to secure a job, they need an experience. So you need a 5-year experience. So where do you get this experience? And yet you don't have an opportunity to secure a job opportunity. I really don't have to give an answer to that. So Goblis Foundation, first we are proud to align our work with Sustainable Development Goals. Goblis Foundation is registered as a non-profit entity and is responding to the dual crisis of youth unemployment and climate change. So generally, that is social entrepreneurship. It's not just about doing business, it's about doing what matters while doing business. So our values, our vision is generally to empower youth to constitute economically prosperous and self-reliant communities. So generally what we are focusing as our vision, mission, and of course our objectives are youth to build sustainable communities, to build their own communities through social entrepreneurship. Yeah, so generally, although now I'll be focusing more on women and social entrepreneurship, So at Goblis Foundation, we have 3 core pillars. First, what we usually do is just identify these young people. After identifying them through, a partnership with the, community leaders, community-based organizations and NGOs. Then we have an online platform called Gmo Academy. We have been doing it through Google Classroom, but now we have been able to set up a platform. It's just a learning management system where these people, they are able to access all pool of resources, right from community mentors, impact investors, and everyone that they would need to be able to guide them through social innovation process. Also, we have Kenya, which is a peer-to-peer crowdfunding platform, where, because we have been seeing this a lot of activities, so many organizations are training young people on entrepreneurship. But after that, what next? They're usually told, now you can go and apply for loans, from banks and other institutions, which lend money, in quote, of course. But when they go there, they need collateral, they need security. If young people straight from school, where do they get this collateral? They don't have. And if they are aiming at maybe property owned by a parent or so forth, no parent is going to allow, their children to use their property to gamble. And also we have Bomani Innovation Hub, which we have set up along the coast, a place called Bomani in Kilifi, which is a social innovation workshop. It's a fully boarding facility. So generally, it's those who have got great social innovation ideas identified at the Gmo Academy usually send 12 per month for a 3-week social innovation workshop. So that's a bootcamp. So our focus today, it's Kimudada Social Entrepreneurship Program. We all know the vast majority of world's poor are women, as 2/3 of the world illiterates are female. That is there out there. Yes, please.
You have 1 minute to go.
Okay. So generally, Kimudada, it's driven by the vision of a future where every woman and girl can exercise their rights. So generally what happens, it's when we are identifying beneficiaries of our programs, we did realize that women, especially those who usually give birth to kids while they're in maybe school, they don't get an opportunity to school, it becomes very hard to compete out there, especially for opportunities, and that's why we set up this program. So generally, we usually train them for 3 months and give them micro loans, and of course, we have an extension support program where we usually work with them for about 1 to 2 years. Of course, the finance, we give them these micro loans. Of course, we are calling it program-related investments. And of course, as I said before, we have the Kenya platform where they can fundraise from their friends, family members, and all those who revolve around them. Also, education support, you find these women, especially those who start micro-social enterprises, and they get children who excel well, perform well. In primary school, you find these children are usually called to join big schools. To join big schools. So we support them through education. Yeah.
Please give the way forward.
Oh. Okay, thank you. Actually, I had finished. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isaac. It's a great presentation, great work you're doing there. So I will give room to the panelists, starting with Megan this time, so that you can hear from Katrina and Hilke. So Megan, would like to hear from you about Isaac's presentation.
Great, thanks so much. I like going last because I never like to be first on the feedback. Isaac, it sounds like you're also doing some fantastic work, and thanks for sharing. I really liked how you broke down the numbers, 800,000 youth, 50,000 get jobs. That's just over 6%, which is really bad. Some tactics, I was thinking with the SDGs, I don't think you're working with all of them. So you might want to just have a visual where you circle the ones that you're really focusing on to draw people's attention to that. That could be helpful. And being able, again, in line with the storytelling, what are the changes over time? I think you were getting there, but it got cut off. So somebody's income went from X, which could be 0, with a family of how many, to Y, what that enabled them to do. And then that's a natural segue into what you were trying to say at the end there, which is for those that are already succeeding, but their income is still only this low amount, we find sponsorships for their children. So there's like a logical flow there. I got a little confused between these 3 pillars, which I think are the work that you're doing of the Gmo Academy, Ukenya, and Bomani with Kimudada. I wasn't sure, how do these connect? If Kimudada is a pillar, is it part of that? So if you're talking about your programs, I might recommend you talk about them all together on a slide. And again, as we've discussed, less long words and more kind of bullet points. And then why you're focusing on this one particular section for the pitch, and what you're inviting us into. And again, I know it was a long time. What I really do recommend for everyone, what I do when I'm trying to do a pitch is I figure out who's the audience, etc. But I actually spec it out on paper first and then figure out what are the best visuals to support each of those communication points. And then I'll put it on a PowerPoint and I'll actually literally write down every word that I want to say for that slide in little segments that are kind of a breath or a phrase with what are the hand gestures, where are the pauses, where is the emphasis, and then really memorize it. And I do that by making sure that I'm speaking it very slowly, because I think your pitch was probably really like a 7 or 8 minute pitch that you had to try to condense into 5. So and this applies for all of you all, if you try to do it that way that I've just said, it'll make sure that it's very well within the time and actually maybe a little under time, and that you don't have to rush and you have all of the things there that you want. Because it seems like for many of you all, this isn't just Isaac, you had a lot of rich content that you still wanted to share, and probably some of the feedback that we're giving, you're like, yes, that was on that other slide that I didn't get to share, but you didn't get to share it because it was too long, right? So bringing that down, I think, would be really helpful. And then what I think is interesting is I'm not really sure how long you've been around. I know you're about to say about 150 beneficiaries. What I wanted to say to perhaps everybody is when you're starting, let us know if it's brand new, which I think most of you sort of are. And if you're starting, some of the story is your story and the why. Why is this compelling to you? And what's your unique insight to solve this, right? So even for you, Isaac, there are a lot of youth empowerment programs. Why is yours special? Perhaps it's the climate change, perhaps it's the women, I'm not sure. The women aren't quite the same as the youth, so how does that connect? So what's your unique insight into this problem, and why are you the unique person to execute this insight? I think if all of you all can be able to do that, then you've got the buy-in. If you're scaling, then the story becomes less about you and more about the beneficiaries and the beneficiaries' impact over time that you all have made. So I'd like to see 1 or 2 of those stories a little bit more. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much, Regan. We'll hear from Katrina. Katrina.
Hello. Now, the feedback that I give always builds off of the feedback I gave to previous people. Essentially, it will be useful for everybody. Now you have a lovely, relatively slow way of speaking, which is very comfortable to listen to and easy to follow. As has already been said, the problem is you're trying to say too much. Now I would suggest, I already mentioned with Rogers, the idea of a fairy tale technique of building your story. What I noticed is you were talking to us in a conversational way. You would bring up an idea and then you would talk about it a little bit more. And then you would bring up the next idea and talk about it a little bit more. When we're telling a fairy tale to a child who has a very short attention span, what we automatically do is we give a punchline. This is the beautiful prince. This is the brilliant princess. She goes on an adventure. We automatically reduce what we're saying to something that is very interesting and brings us to the next point very cleanly. I want us to apply that same thing to our 5-minute pitch. So it's not a conversational flow of this thing about us leads to this, which is important because of this. It's we are unique in this field because we focus on this thing. That is important because this is the situation in our target area, which leads to this trouble in families that we have been communicating with, such as this one. Our approach has led to these successes. We do that using these resources and collaborations. If you do this call to action, then we are hopeful that this will be the result. It's punchy, it grabs your attention, it's clear. You always have to assume that your audience is distracted or your audience is going to give you 30 seconds of interest, and if you haven't grabbed them, you're done. So even in a 5-minute pitch, you still have to treat that first 30 seconds like it's all you have. Just like an elevator pitch. Give them something wonderful at the start and then keep it going, just like a fairy tale. So if you can imagine giving this pitch to a 5-year-old, if there's any point where they would wander off and play with something else, then your fully grown adult audience probably would too. You already have a nice pacing. You're definitely allowing yourself to breathe. You're definitely easy to listen to and easy to understand. But you have to treat what you're saying like a trailer for a movie, a fairy tale for a child, not a conversation with somebody who is going to sit and listen to you for as long as it takes. I think that will make it more intuitive and easy to see where can you cut material out. It's not all about numbers and figures and making technical plans. There's also a very emotional aspect to it. And I think that'll make the process of cutting easier.
Thanks so much, Katrina. That's a lot of great insight. I've learned a lot.
I'm so glad.
Welcome, Hilke.
Yes, and I need to say I learned a lot as well, so I'm taking notes here as well. So that's also a good exercise for me. Thank you, Katrina. But first of all, thank you, Isaac, for the presentation. And first of all, I need to say it's always so easy, you know, to kind of lean back and have the presenters, and then take notes about, you know, oh, this could be done better, this could be done better. But it's all meant in a very positive way. So don't always feel kind of bad if we start, yeah, but this could be better or this could be better. So. Nevertheless, let me give you my comments, which and a lot has already been said before. What really sticks in my head from your presentation is actually this very impressive number, this 800,000 and 50,000, and because that clearly states the problem. And you said it in the beginning, And the thing is, because also it sticks in my head because I read it on your webpage as well. And I think it's such a strong argument that you should also, maybe not in a long sentence, but maybe also visualize that. Because I think it clearly states why you are doing what you are doing. Because I think that is so important that you, and I think Katrina said it as well, that you also say, why is it, or I think Megan said it, why is it what you are doing? I mean, there's a reason why you're doing these things. And I think that should be clearly stated. So this problem statement, and I actually would visualize that. Because as I said, text, if there's too much text, your own thoughts kind of wander away. That also goes for me. If I see too many words, I somehow I cannot focus anymore. And I have actually, while you were speaking, also looked at a couple of your sentences, and quite a few sentences of yours also on the website, by the way, kind of span across 6 or 7 lines. And that is really, really hard to digest because it has so much information in one sentence, and I'm still digesting while you are already on the next, or already on the next slide. So it's make it a little bit easier. I mean, first of all, way less text, but also the sentences that you use make them easier to digest. One last thought, and I know it was so difficult because you're already doing so much and you have all these different pillars, and it's so difficult to put them into a pitch presentation. But what I was missing, or somehow at the end you were still giving information, I completely missed the call to action. Because for me it was now you, Isaac, presenting Goblis to us and said, yeah, I learned about this organization, but I wasn't quite sure whether you actually wanted something from me. So what is it that you want from us, as maybe not today on the panel, but as a potential investor, as a potential partner? And I did not see that. So I think that is really what you should put into the heads of your audience. Why are you actually talking to them today, and what is it that you want from them? That's actually my comments that I had, because as I said, it's always sometimes good also to be at the end, because a lot has already been said. And thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you very much, Hilke. I think I will give the floor to Pedro. Pedro, kindly.
Hello, thank you. Thank you very much, Isaac. A lot has been said already, and I don't want to take much time. I just want to say that I guess it goes for anyone who's presenting anything. When we are presenting something that is kind of a flow, we have an initial situation, and then we have some kind of work. We are integrated in an organization. There is a process, and then we have an expected result. And this is what you're trying to convince your audience to invest, to donate, to do whatever you want me to do. The call to action would be, I think it would be nice to visualize the process in one slide, because this is what you were showing through the entire presentation. But as Katrina was saying, imagine your audience is a child. I am very much a child. And it's sometimes difficult to remember, wait, what did he say on the second slide? And then I have to connect here on my head all those things. And maybe for you, it's very clear, but maybe not for me. And then it would be really, really nice if maybe you had one slide dedicated to build this flow. And then we could literally visualize your work. I think it would help you a lot and everyone. And yeah, that was all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pedro. So Isaac, I will give you a moment to get back to the panelists and Pedro, and also the audience.
Yeah, thank you everyone for the great insights. I don't take them for granted. It's an honor, and of course I have taken those points. It's very inspirational. Maybe just to highlight on the core pillars. The core pillars are just the strategies that we are using So all of them are infrastructures. One, it's an academy, it's a platform, which is an online infrastructure. Ukenya is an online infrastructure, which is, of course, online, but Bomani Innovation Hub, it's a physical infrastructure, which is fully built and owned by the Goblis Foundation. All in all, I'm really happy to be given this opportunity, and I really look forward to be involved in future, and hopefully I'll have iron out and maybe incorporate all these insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you to Isaac. So I think at this stage, we would like to do a little bit of networking among each other. So you can either go grab a glass of water, maybe rush to the washroom, you know, have a little break before you come back to the session so that we can proceed. I will welcome Valeria to tell us how we're going to the next step.
Hi, Marlene. Yes, first of all, thank you to all the founders who pitched. It was great to hear all your work and your efforts, and thanks a lot to the guest panelists and the audience. It was really a great session. Unfortunately, we're running a bit late, and I know that some people cannot stay, so I apologize for that. So I would suggest that we just do a very short, directly like session, 5 minutes in the networking rooms for the people who can't stay, and then we can come back in 5 minutes in the main room, and we're just gonna take another extra 5 minutes. So I think the event will end 10 minutes late or something like that, if for the people that can stay, of course. And for who cannot stay, it was great to have you here in the event, and we will stay in touch. So, of course, today in the event, there are many members of the Lightup Impact community, but I think there are also perhaps some organizations or some other people who are working also in the social impact sector who don't know about the Lightup Impact community. So who are we? We are a network of early stage gender and development organizations in East Africa. The Lightup Impact community was founded in April last year. We're now over 100 members between the member organizations, partners, and also like-minded people that have joined our community. We currently are united in a Facebook group where we share information, we help each other. We basically feed also the founders with opportunities that might be good for them, and also opportunities for their growth. So until now, we have 37 member organizations from Kenya in our community. We have 2 member organizations from Uganda, 2 from Rwanda, and we have 1 from Tanzania. So why should you become a member of our community? So what do we do at Lightup Impact? We support the growth and the development of our member organizations so that they can gain visibility and credibility they need to secure more funding and increase their impact. We know, all of us know that when you're an early stage social entrepreneur, it's very hard basically to find the funding and get started. So this is why we want to help organizations that are just starting to basically be on the map also of an international network, so that they can more easily acquire funding by also other means. And how do we do that? Through events like the one of today, we try to put you in contact with people that can be useful for you. Through our community, where you can create partnerships with the other organizations that are perhaps of interest to you. Also in the community, we have organized in the past also some trainings on certain topics that are interesting for the founders. And also this year, we launched our own program, which is called the Lightup Impact Badge and Founder Tour, which aims to give visibility to the member organizations in our network. So in just a second, I would like to tell you what the Lightup Impact Badge is all about. So it's about basically the founders applying through a rigorous application where they tell us about their commitment as social entrepreneurs, about the social impact of their organization so far, and their willingness to grow with Lightup Impact Network. And through this selection process, the organizations that earn the badge can use the badge to represent the organization's credibility and visibility and commitment to a joint growth towards sustainable impact. And I'm very happy to say that this year, through the first round of applications, 16 organizations were already awarded the Lightup Impact badge. But that's not the end of the story, because the top 7 founders who were selected, who earned the badge and were the top 7 applicants of this application round, were also included in the first program that we call the Founder Tour 2022. And these are the 7 organizations: Activate Action and Chadala. You've heard today from Rogers and Grace, their pitches. We also have Rhythm of Life and Harriet, Cairo Rights Organization, Caroline, Grown to Help from Rwanda, Denise, Nareto Latia, Isaac from Kenya, and Wheels of Hope Collins, also from Kenya. So founders, congratulations. You can say hi to the audience somehow if you're in the call today. So the aim of the Founder Tour, basically through our visit, we want to learn what are the challenges of a social entrepreneur today that is at an early stage. We want to understand how they implement their projects, what are the social impact they create. We will visit them for like 2 weeks and we will get to know them better, because at Lightup Impact, we want to build a network where we really know the people who we work with. So for us, quality is more important than quantity. And also, we will, of course, showcase their work and give them visibilities on our channels through video footage and also articles about their community projects. Also, to reward these founders, at the end of the year, we started a team fundraiser between all these 7 founders of the Lightup Impact community, because at Lightup Impact, we value collaboration over competition. And it's been really great. We raised the money for all these causes that you see here. So access to COVID vaccine for women living with HIV, sanitary pads to distribute to vulnerable women, helping women against basically gender-based violence. You've heard about Grace projects to support LGBTQ women and so on, and also helping teen moms with supplies and food for children, and empower women economically through tailoring projects. So there are many causes, and in one fundraise, we were already able to raise over 3,000 euro, when we're only 600 euro away from our goal. And what will happen is that this money will be distributed among the 7 founders equally. And when we're there, we will also be part of implementing these projects that we are supporting, and we're going to be reporting back to the donors. Here you can see some pictures from Rhythm of Life and Nareto Latia, who participated in the fundraiser. So if you would like still to contribute, the fundraiser is still open. You can visit lightupimpact.com/fundraiser. And also, if you would like, if you're an organization that is early stage and working in gender and development in East Africa, please visit our website where you can basically join us and apply for become part of the Lightup Impact community. So we're really excited from what's coming next. Our team will be in East Africa in spring 2022. So please get in touch if maybe we can meet on our way through Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. And stay tuned for our upcoming meetups in April. A very big thank you to everyone who participated in the event, to the guest panelists, the founders, anybody else who is in the call today, and the Lightup Impact team. It's been really great, and I would like to leave the last few words, closing remarks, to Eva and our moderators today. Thank you.
Oh, I can go first. Thank you, Valeria. That was very informative. Thank you, everyone, for attending our session today. Like I said in the beginning, this is our very first public event and our first founder showcase. So we would love to hear your feedback as well on the event. So we'll be sending a feedback survey to all those who have registered. If you haven't registered, you can send us an email, give us your feedback. If you'd like to have more events like this or something else, we would like to hear that. And thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, everyone.